Welcome to another episode of the Swords and Sports Podcast. One man's journey to read 52 fantasy books in 52 weeks and create 52 podcasts documenting the experience. I'm your host, Mike Mogues, and this week I am joined by the incredible author H.L. Tinsley to talk about her book, We Men of Ash and Shadows. This interview is part of Self-Published Fantasy Month. It's week 2. Week 1 was a resounding success. Thank you very much, Jordan Loyola Short, for hopping on the show and talking about his book. And I'm excited to keep continuing this for the rest of the month. Speaking of the interview, it's coming up after all the book details and the boring promotional stuff. I'll tell you what is not boring, Self-Published Fantasy Month, though it is promotional. As I mentioned, I am participating as the featured podcast for the month, meaning that for this month I'm going to be interviewing only self-published fantasy authors, and that I'm going to keep the content coming. If you want to head over to their website, selfpublishedfantasymonth.com, they've got all kinds of cool stuff going on, like a daily writing prompt, written interviews, guest posts by other authors, and some other shit you can go figure out yourself. Go on to their website, and then I can stop saying it. You can also find this podcast on there, as I mentioned, and you can find this podcast on all your listening platforms, including Spotify and Apple. You can find this podcast on your main video platform, which I believe, does anybody watch videos on anywhere that's not YouTube or porn? Moving on. Subscribe and like it so that one day I could promote incredible companies like Bird Dogs or Blue Chew, because that seems to be the only thing I'm hearing in the summer for podcasts. For more details about upcoming episodes, including featured books, author interviews, and more, you can follow Swords and Sports on Twitter. That's where the good stuff happens. On Instagram, I've got the clips. They're about like a minute long because I think that's all they let Instagram post. And, they're just a little teaser of what's going on the show. Let's get into these book details. The book is We Men of Ash and Shadow, which is a awesome name for a book. Sounds like a name for like a TV series as well. The author is Deck the Halls with Balls of Holly, Tinsley. H.L. Tinsley is what she goes by on her book covers. The series is the Vanguard Chronicles. This is book 1. I think she talks about a little bit about what's going on with book 2 in the interview. It was published on October 1st, 2020. It is 296 pages on the Kindle edition. As I mentioned, the publisher is Self-Pub, as all the books will be for the month of September. And this is the first book in the series. Before we get to this interview, as always, this podcast contains spoilers. It is a spoilers podcast, so if you have not read We Men of Ash and Shadow by H.L. Tinsley, consider this your warning. Without further ado, H.L. Tinsley. It's another week of the Swords and Sports Podcast, and this week I am joined by the incredible H.L. Tinsley, author of We Men in Ash and Shadow, book 1 of the Vanguard series, and also a Spiffbo 7 semifinalist. Welcome to the show, Holly.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Question number 1, and it's a super important question. Is it fair to say if Idris Elba wasn't so hot that we'd never have this book?
Possibly. I'd say possibly. I know what you're referring to there. There's definitely some elements of the series Luther that were an inspiration when I was writing it. But I'd like to say it was the writing behind it that inspired me, not Idris Elba himself. But I don't think he hurts,
Well, Idris Elba is my inspiration. So what are you gonna do? Can I please get the full story and updates on Goose Saga 2021?
Oh my god! That's been over for a while now. We've moved past that, and I think there was at some point there were a few kind of goose-related car attacks. This is really going to confuse a lot of people who aren't on my Twitter. But the goose is gone now, so we don't know. We like to think that he found another goose and that they're now living happily ever after. But chances are it just got moved, to be honest. So,
well, Holly, now's the time to come clean. Did you kill the goose?
I never actually saw the goose, unfortunately. The goose might not have even existed. I don't know. It's just this is like third-party information I was getting. So. It was that was a saga for a few weeks.
What do you think would go behind making up an entire Goose Saga? That's an interesting point you bring up.
I mean, if it is made up, it was really well done. So, I mean, I reckon if that is the case, then it should be my other half who is the writer, not me. And he could launch a whole series of goose-related books. You know, they're a pretty
That,
grim, dark animal.
yeah, I mean, I would think, and this is just, no hyperbole, I would say a goose is the most grimdark animal.
Quite possibly, yeah. So definitely. I mean, I think we're at the point now where I think a lot of the people who are watching, listening to this, are going to be wondering why we're talking about geese. So yeah, just go on my Twitter if you want the full Goose Saga. I'll put like a highlights reel on there for people.
Well, fantasy book talk is subject 1 here, and geese is subject 2 on this show. So it's naturally just going to. You spent the morning of July 5th, which here in America is usually spent recovering from July 4th, which, is a holiday celebrating something. You spent the morning of July 5th researching cheese, and you wanted to find out who invented yogurt. Have you found out the answer to this question? Because it has been eating me alive since I saw it.
I did. I mean, I think there's no specific answer to it because there's been variations on kind of yogurts and cheeses and kind of, all the curd family since, kind of going back as far as you can imagine. I think they found like cheese in like Egyptian tombs and things like that. So I think it was more of a mistake that somebody made once and then just thought, well, that looks good, we'll eat it. And, hence cheese was born.
Are you saying somewhere out there, there's like King Tut's cheese?
I mean, I don't know if it would be what we would describe as cheese, but certainly a variation of it.
Are the curds the people who invented curds?
I can't answer, but I don't know. That one I'll Google for next time.
Please get me a follow-up on this. Also, I don't even really know where the curds are from. This isn't an educational podcast.
I'm not too sure myself. I've got a vague idea, but I wouldn't like to put it out on air in case I'm very wrong.
Are you sure? Because I'm happy to guess.
No, I'll let you guess that one, I think.
I'm going to say a county in Australia, if they even have counties.
It's definitely not a county in Australia. I know that much.
I don't think you do. I could be right. Some listener get back to us on that. How's your son's quest to create a spicy chili hot wings recipe going?
Oh my God. From his point of view, it's going well. From my point of view, I'm pretty much spending all my money at the moment on either buying chicken wing supplies or like fireproofing the house. They're actually really good though. They're really, really good. He's like a really good chef.
Well, can you give us some of the secret ingredients? Just one guess that chili is somewhere in it.
Chili, definitely. I think there's like liquid fire, lava, acid, stuff like that. That's what it tastes like anyway, but in a good way.
I'll take your word for it. Wouldn't it be something if there was a spicy chili recipe that didn't have chili in it? No, that's marketing for you.
Yeah, I think if he could do that, then he could definitely make some money out of it.
Well, keep your eyes peeled, everybody, for the Tinsley wings recipe. Maybe I'll ask one question about books. You're in Spiffbo. How's that going?
I mean, it's gone well so far. It's just I feel like it's been a long way now because the group that I'm in, absolutely amazing group. There's so many good books in it, but we were done with the first round really, really quickly. Like we were the first group done. So I kind of knew where I was really early on, and then obviously since then the other groups are still doing their selection. So for me, it feels like it's been a really, really long competition already. So, but yeah, I'm really, really pleased. I was really happy with the feedback that I got. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting. It's a great way to get exposure, and hopefully it'll work out for you. I know that a lot of people have had success, kind of making it out of the slush pile of the beginnings of the competition. So you're off to a good start.
So far, so good.
I'm trying to look up. This is where having someone else on this would help to look up what group you're in. But you know what? Let's move on. I feel obligated to ask this so Justine from Whispers and Wonders doesn't drop me from the Self-Published Fantasy Month team. But what does self-published fantasy mean to you?
Oh, to me, I mean, it's just total freedom to create whatever weird, fantastical, ridiculous things that you want to create, and then let other people tell you how they feel about them. So that's pretty much it.
All right. I mean, that makes sense to me. One of the things that I found interesting that I was reading about you, and you said it in an interview somewhere, was that you pretty much failed at all other creative endeavors before you came to writing. At what point did you realize that writing was your only option left?
I mean, like, I don't know, fail's a strong word. I probably should have been a bit more generous to myself there. I mean, I've done lots of creative things and possibly haven't gone as far or done quite as well with them, but I actually started writing a long time before I did anything else. I mean, I started writing when I was probably 7 or 8, and at that age, I think my English teacher at the time was quite kind of interested in the work I was doing. I was like, oh, you should be writing, you'd be really good. You should write books like Agatha Christie and like people that write really kind of old murder mysteries, like that kind of style. And I took that as like I couldn't write anything else. So I kind of just went, no, I don't want to write murder mysteries. That's not my style. And then didn't write again for, you know, like 20, whatever it was, years. So, but yeah, I got there eventually.
Yeah. And in your first month of writing, you won a competition?
Yes, literally the very first competition that I entered, I won like a small prize. I think it was like a book token or something. Yeah, that was really good because that really set me up in a terrible way, because I won the first one and then subsequently like lost about 5 others like immediately after it. So yeah, it was a good start, but yeah, possibly raised my expectations a little too high.
That's why I try to have no expectations so that I always, beat them. It seems like you went the opposite route.
Yeah, that's what I do now. You see, I've learned the hard way.
That's like the highest of highs to then be crushed. No. Hey, most people don't win shit.
I mean, it was great. It was so funny as well because I mean, my dad's like my biggest fan, and he turned up on like my front doorstep with like this bottle of like champagne to celebrate like this first win of like a book token. It was great.
That might be the cutest thing I've ever heard. Shout out to your dad. It's good to support. Why did you poke 33 holes in a digestive biscuit?
I don't think there was like a reason behind that. I have kind of like attention issues sometimes where I find it very hard not to move a lot of the time. So I've either got like my hands doing something, or you know, I'll have like a twitching leg or something. So yeah, I just kind of, if there's something next to me, I'll just kind of do strange things to it to see what happens. So, and I had like I think we had like a little cheese and biscuits platter, and there was like cocktail sticks and a couple of crackers. I was just like, you know, test the structural integrity of a biscuit. Why not?
What would you say this research yielded as results?
I would say that digestive biscuits do not have as good structural integrity as like a water biscuit does. They're quite strong.
I would love one day for a video on just the structural integrity of biscuits around here.
That might be my next project.
There you go. Put down the book writing. Let's get to the stuff that's really important. What is the number one complaint people have about fishing equipment?
Oh my god. Usually that it breaks. That's probably the number one. I mean, yeah, God, that's thrown me now because you're making me think. Do you know what? It was just, you get the most random complaints from people. I mean, anyone that's ever worked in a customer service job will get like the most ridiculous complaints. The one we hear the most is it's not fit for purpose, and then generally it's been used for a purpose that is absolutely not what it is built for. So
now I'm interested.
So I mean, we've had people like trying to use like fishing hooks as grappling hooks and things like that, you know, and it's just you're not going to get the same results with a hook that's kind of half an inch long, you know.
How does a phone call like that go? Hey, I used a fishing hook for something it clearly wasn't meant for. Can I get a refund?
Oh, do you know what? That's not even the weirdest one that I've ever heard. I've worked
Oh, give me the weirdest one.
I mean, I think probably the weirdest one that we ever had was we had an employee take a goose to work, and I'm not even lying, it was genuinely a goose. So
Full circle.
I don't know why geese stories like follow me, but they do. So yeah, that was one complaint we got.
What a grimdark story that is. What the fuck is a regional talking newspaper? Is that like a common thing and I just don't know anything about it?
I mean, it is a lot more common than people think. I think most places will have like either their own or like some local variation, but it's basically a way of getting the local news to people who are like blind or visually impaired.
Oh, I feel dumb. I feel dumb.
I mean, it's it's something like not a lot of people have heard of, but it's such a cool thing to do, and it's so much fun. Like, we have a great little team that work locally. We all go in, we have a recording studio where we pick out kind of all the news that's been going around in the local towns and villages and kind of collaborate to bring it all together, and then each week it gets sent out as a weekly paper to all of our subscribers.
That is quite the service. I was all set to make jokes and now I feel like an idiot. That is an awesome thing that you do.
It's good. It's so much fun. Just we all kind of get together, and like it's just like a really close knit. There's about 10, 12 of us on the team, so it's great.
You also are deep in the blogging game, right?
I mean, I don't know if I'm deep in it, but yeah, I do a lot of blogging for like various different subjects, companies, people. Yeah, it's great. I mean, most of my work is talking about films and video games and board games, which is fantastic. Like, I literally spend my time playing games and then like chatting about them online.
Oh my God, that's like the most fun thing you could possibly write about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was looking at your Instagram. Do you have a pet raccoon?
No, sadly, it's not mine. It's a local wildlife sanctuary. We have where we live, there's about 4 or 5 different rescue centres kind of really nearby. And we've kind of volunteered at a couple of them, and a couple of them we've kind of just gone and done like little day trips too. So yeah, I have lots of kind of animal photos and pictures of me with like meerkats running all over me and things like that.
I thought you had a pet raccoon. I gotta admit, I'm a little disappointed.
I wish I did.
That would be sweet.
It would. Although they're really temperamental.
Really?
Yeah.
They just like eat anything and do anything.
I mean, they do, but they're bad-tempered while they're doing it.
Speaking of where you live in a miner's cottage?
Yes, yeah, like it's I mean, I can't even tell you how old it is, but it's pretty old, tiny little cottage.
That's interesting. So you live in a miner's cottage that's right next to a wildlife sanctuary where they rehab raccoons. You're getting a much clearer picture of what's going on here. How did you find out that you were younger than you thought you were?
Oh my God, I get so confused about how old. I think I reached a certain point. I think I got to about 33, I think, and then I just stopped counting years. Convenient. So every now and again, I get asked how old I am, and I have to work it out because I genuinely just forget.
And this is not intentional.
No, not at all. I mean, like I said in the tweet I think I put out, I was genuinely really happy because I realised I was a year younger than I thought. So I've been telling people I was a year older for like ages.
Well, that had to feel good.
So yeah, that made that day a really good one.
Hey, not everything could be a negative. So that is good to forget things. How tempted are you to take that dental appointment in Colorado you keep getting offered?
Do you know what? I still keep getting emails about it. Like, it's been about 5 years now. I've been getting email dental appointments for this guy. I think he's called like Justin or Jason or something like that. I don't know what the state of his teeth must be like by now. but I kind of feel like I want to find this guy and tell him he needs to go to his dentist.
So it's Jason who's like the person emailing you for Jason?
Yeah, it's a Jason or Justin or something beginning with a J, but I think at least kind of once a week I get this email saying, "Dear Jason, you're due to book your hygienist appointments." So I don't. He might not know about it. You know, it could be this poor guy out there with like teeth that are just like falling apart now. And it's all my fault.
Well, let's use this as a beacon to shout him out. Jason or Justin or something that starts with a J in the Colorado area. Please go see your hygienist.
Yes, please.
You should show up, take a trip to the States and take that appointment.
I mean, that would be great. I think by like the cost of that probably would be a bit prohibitive. Like just for a dental appointment. I mean, I have to literally got a dentist next door to me, so that's, you know, a bit more convenient and cheaper. So
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard, the American healthcare system is great.
yeah, I've heard.
You posed two very important questions and you had the answer for both of them, but I want to know how true this has been. How do I get 5,000 people to buy my book, and what's for dinner? Was the answer to both of those questions lasagna?
No, sadly not. But I did have a lasagna, so
Was
you
it
know,
good?
I got halfway there. Yeah, really good. Yeah, I didn't have to make it either, so it was even better.
That's the best kind of lasagna.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you feel like a marketing campaign centered around lasagna would be a great way to get people to buy your books?
I think it would actually. I feel like people would relate to a lasagna based marketing campaign. I find that, you know, with the marketing that I do, and I do very little marketing, the people seem to respond to things like the more ridiculous things I post, the more responses I get. If I post something really serious, like, oh, you know, here's my book, you know, it's got this review, and, you know, people are like, oh, great. And then I'll post something really random about, like, you know, wolves pulling sleds and like cannons and things, and people are like, yeah, great, and they all get involved. I think we had one about ice cube trays the other day. That took off quite nicely.
Please elaborate.
I think it was, I mean, it's a couple of weeks ago. We ended up having this huge conversation on Twitter because I'd got a sale on the book at the time, and I said that I needed people to buy it so that I could buy these grim dark ice cube tray mold things that I'd seen on the internet. And I think somebody basically didn't believe that they existed, so I started linking them to the thread, and we just like kind of blew up this whole conversation about, you know, making ice cubes shaped like swords and skulls and, you know, dragons, scales and things like that. It was great.
Please include that link somewhere. I want to get on that.
I will. I'll find the Twitter again and like do a whole ice cube tray related post.
Shout out to whatever that company is. Send Holly a free ice tray. She's literally giving only free publicity here. What's the weirdest thing you ever had to write a guidebook for?
I don't think I've written anything particularly weird for guidebooks, to be honest. Most of it was like really kind of boring businessy stuff. I wrote a lot around like data protection for credit cards and things like that. So, you know, it wasn't the most thrilling of subjects. So
I keep getting my credit card stolen, but you know, it keeps getting declined at places. Am I doing the right thing to protect it?
I mean, it sounds like if it's getting declined, you should probably just stop using it.
It's not me using it, it's someone else.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, in that case, then yeah, I'd say that you need better security on it.
Has your credit card ever been stolen?
Do you know, I don't have a credit card. I haven't had one for years. I kind of like went through a phase where I had a couple, and then I got rid of them, and I've never got another one since. So yeah, I think the best way to protect yourself is just to not bother.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's actually genius. I think that's enough stupid questions for you. I would like to talk about a book that you have written. It's fantastic. Also, for everybody who's listening, as always, these questions are spoiler-esque questions, so be prepared. What bar has the highest patron to murder ratio?
do you know what? It's that line has come back to me so many times now.
Oh, I thought I was original. Damn.
No, I mean, do you know what? It's when I wrote that, the area that it's in is, I mean, it's quite small. It's very dangerous, but it's quite small. So there are kind of other bars that are more, or at least equally as dangerous, but they've maybe not made an appearance yet. So
At what ratio do you not go into the bar? 2-1? 3-1?
do you know what? I don't think I actually put a number on it, to be honest. I can't remember. Like, how bad is it? I can't remember the opening line to my own book. Yeah, I think you know, you'd at least want kind of, you know, I'd say minimum of only one murder victim per 5 patrons, I think would be a reasonable thing to want from an establishment.
Remind me to never go out with you. Holy shit. That's reckless. How relaxing does a vacation to the hole sound?
Oh, not yeah, that doesn't sound like a place that you want to be. I mean, I'm very claustrophobic, so I definitely don't want to go there. I mean, obviously, I think the main thing with the hole is that you're not really going to get a choice. If you're going in there, you're going in there. So, and you're probably not going to come out. So,
well, that would not make a very fun vacation, but it's a matter of perspective. This question, as I'm reading it, seems a little more wild than I remember. Is it more of a power move to lock eyes with your son while you have sex with the lady of the night, or to drown your dad to death?
I mean, I probably think the locking eyes is probably more of a power move. To be honest, I think the actual murdering somebody, I think that's a hell of a statement to make. I mean, that's a reaction, definitely. But I think, you know, just that, you know, if you're going to like really clock somebody eye on eye while you're about the business, you've got to have some confidence about you to do that, really.
I agree. I thought you were going to go with the second one. I actually think the killing of the dad is a little bit of a temper tantrum. It's a baby's move.
Yeah, that's it. And you know, just like it's in context of, you know, the situation at the time as well. You know, it's a reactionary thing, whereas, you know, the eyeballing, you know, your kid as you're, you know, going at it, that's a deliberate move. That is, that's, you know.
Well, Tarn's dad wanted a reaction out of him. He sure got it.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, you know, not the one he wanted, but he got one.
You know what? You play with fire, sometimes you get burned. Speaking of looks, what is the look of someone who pokes a dead body with a stick?
I mean, I think in my head, I was imagining kind of like a kind of 80s movie style, like Stand By Me type scenario, you know, where it's like young kids and like they're just like, oh, you know, just give it a poke.
All right, let's see. I'm going to try to do this. You can watch this on the YouTube channel. That's how I plug myself. Does it look like this?
That's it. That is 100. It's like you saw what I saw.
What do you think people who are just listening to this thought as there was just pure silence on there? Also, someone gave me this letter opener that looks like a sword, and I'm obsessed with playing with it, so I'm sorry for that.
I mean, I think if people are listening to this rather than watching it, I like to think that they would see exactly what I just saw, and it would be like a universal image in everyone's kind of minds.
That is the nicest thing I've ever heard. The movie Frozen taught us not to marry a man you just met. But Vanguard waited an entire 3 weeks before he proposed. And she still said no. How long is he supposed to wait?
I think, to be honest, sad as it is, I don't think that's any amount of time that he could wait when, you know, before asking where there would be a positive answer. I just don't think Henriette is the marrying type. So, I mean, he may try again in the future, he may not. I haven't decided yet, but yeah, I think she's a businesswoman through and through. So,
I mean, in a world where we're concerned about the patron to murder ratio of all our night outings, maybe it might be time to, you know, rush a few decisions.
Yeah, well, that's it. You say you never know, and if you don't ask, you don't get. So
This one's a question. The 5 girls that worked the ring with 6 legs between them, were they former IHOP employees?
I mean, possibly there could be like a grimdark version of an IHOP, so that could be a possibility. Like, they might have had more legs when they started working there, and then just industrial accidents happen, and it's a dangerous place to be.
I agree. Are we positive that Vanguard is not the bishop?
I don't think he'd make a very good bishop. To be honest, I think I think he'd fail at the personality test for it. So, yeah.
I don't think anyone in this book's qualified to be the bishop, so it might as well be him.
I mean, yeah, that's true. And we haven't even seen like a bishop really. We've only kind of spoken about it, so we don't even know what this bishop is like. I have no idea what he's like.
I actually would like to believe he's the bishop. Low key, is Vanguard onto something with this sleeping in the bathtub thing?
No, it's. Do you know what? It's a strange thing because it's kind of like it's a kind of serious thing as well, but it's also kind of like a really sweet nod to part of my childhood. Where I grew up, this is a true story. Where we grew up, there was a really famous homeless guy, and he was known as the tramp on the ring road. And he kind of was around for decades, and he lived rough, kind of literally on this like roundabout ring road in the city centre. And there was just all these kind of like folk stories about who he was, where he came from. And I remember at some point someone told me that they tried to rehouse him, but because of the effect that living rough had, he could no longer physically sleep in a bed, which is something I know that happens to soldiers, military personnel who have kind of gone out to active like war zones and things. It's a really difficult adjustment to make. So the serious part of that was it's actually a part of his kind of mental trauma that he can't sleep in a proper bed, but it's also kind of quite a nice little nod to our local kind of folk hero as well. So yeah, that's where that came from. So
what is the name of the folk hero? Let's give him a shout out.
Do you know what? I actually looked it up the other day, and I can't pronounce it, but I know that he was a Polish gentleman, and it was kind of back in like the 90s that he was around. So, yeah, and like I don't know how much of what people kind of said were true and how much was stories, but
I imagine
he was
not much of it.
He was definitely real, and he was definitely kind of well known around the area. So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
How fucking sweet would it be to find out that you were like invisible?
I mean, I think you could have a lot of fun with that.
Right? Well, Tarn is fun. I don't know if Vanguard does.
No, I mean, I think going Vanguard doesn't quite take the same opportunities with it that Taran does, but at the same time, he doesn't do half of the kind of evil things that Taran does, but he's still pretty bad as well. So
yeah, but he's not having fun. Taran's having fun.
This is true. This is true.
Is Sanquin actually a nice guy? Loading the gun for the clerk that you're forcing to commit suicide is kind of sweet in its own way.
I mean, probably not from the perspective of the clerk that is being handed the gun. I mean, it's efficient. I would definitely say it was efficient. I don't know about sweet, but I mean, I wouldn't say that he's a nice guy. I there's definitely kind of a cold ruthlessness there.
You don't think the cleric, as he was picking up the gun, went, "Oh, that's so nice of you to load the bullets for me"?
I don't think that would have been his final thoughts. No.
All right. Well, then I've never been in that situation, so who knows? On a more serious note, one of the goals of this podcast is to break the traditional mold of what the stereotypical view of fantasy is. This kind of male-centric, man slays the dragon with magic, wins the woman's heart who's helpless to defend herself, that is written for males who live in their mom's basement with neck beards. What about your books breaks that traditional mold and highlights different elements of fantasy that can appeal to the general public or different audiences or whatever?
That is that's a big question. I mean, first of all, I'd say the main thing for me is that really there's no kind of damsel in distress figure. I mean, there are times in the book where, you know, there are women in danger, but there are equally times in the book where there are men in danger. What I wanted to do was write something where really all the characters are trying to save themselves, more than they're kind of trying to save like the one person or, you know, the princess character. And they're trying to save themselves like emotionally and mentally, and you know, it's kind of, you've thrown me now. I have to think now. God.
And now, after all those dumb questions, a serious one is
I know, you've thrown me off.
not very fair.
There's not really any romance in it. I think that's kind of a big thing for me is, you know, there's kind of elements of friendship and there's companionship and like there's kind of, you know, there are relationships, but there's not this huge, you know, oh, they're going to fall in love and like they're going to start out hating each other. It's all very much about the dynamics of every person working as like just one person, and then the fact that they all kind of cross paths and come together is kind of second to that, really.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Thank you very much. Normally, I follow up that very serious question with the other most important thing of this podcast. This is the number one podcast for dick jokes and fantasy books. And you've got one good one. Can I read it to you?
Go for it.
She rolled her eyes. Aren't you afraid it's going to dry up and fall off? That's not how it works. She snorted. Not what I've been told. Classic.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that one was noted. There are more to come as well.
Spoilers! Oh man, you just got me so excited.
Spoilers.
Okay. Should we blame Vanguard for the 236 people that died? He could have walked out and got some bread.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I would have blamed him at that point. You know, I think if there had been like, you know, reinforcements nearby, he possibly could have, you know, taken a walk that way. But I mean, this poor guy's stuck in the middle of nowhere for like, you know, best part of a year, you know, starving. And he sees, you know, this kind of, you know, way out, and he takes it. And I think most people, if they're being realistic, probably would have done the same. We like to think that we'd be heroic, but you know, I think you'd see an opening and you just run, you know, you'd be gone.
Well, here's why I blame him. My mom always yelled at me to close the gate, to close the door, you know, to pay attention to what I'm doing. And he just forgot.
Yeah. I mean, clearly he did not get raised right.
Good point. I'll give it to you. Is Winifred a monster or a shrewd businesswoman?
I mean, I think both, to be honest. And I think, you know, the fact that she's a monster gives her the skills she needs for her shrewd business acumen. So, yeah, she's got a system there, definitely.
Yeah, I kind of liked what she was doing. Maybe not so much the, you know, killing babies part, but it was a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue, you know, with the success of the enterprise.
Right. The results speak for themselves.
Yeah. The method's probably, you know, not so good.
I mean, do the methods, you know, they're not good. All right, we'll leave it at that. Is Vanguard a sex god for lasting a whole 6 minutes?
I mean, I think he'd like to think that he is. You know, especially since it had been a long time, you know, and you know that he was waiting a long time for that. So I think 6 minutes was pretty impressive. So, but you know, we don't know how much of that was. I mean, a lot of that could have been like, you know, stretching, like warming up. So
listen, if he hit 1/3 of that, then you know what? Shout out to him. I think he was on some performance enhancers. Shout out to Blue Chew. Please sponsor this podcast like you do every single other one. I really need money. Should Vanguard have eaten more sandwiches? was when he
Yeah,
farted. I mean, he could have kept that going.
he could have done. I think if he was given the chance again, I think that he probably would have taken the opportunity to, really see how far he could push the boundaries of, physical law.
Was the intentional irony that he is silent and deadly, but his farts aren't?
I mean that hadn't actually occurred to me, but it's a good point. So maybe I should make them more stealthy. So
There you go.
maybe that's why he doesn't eat as many, because it would put him at a disadvantage. So.
There you go. Now we're really getting into the nitty gritty. What did Vanguard ask Cossack to tell Henriette?
Something vulgar. I don't know what I don't know. I wrote like a whole piece of dialogue, and I must have gotten redone and edited and rewritten about 25 times, and it was just all terrible and like nothing worked. So in the end I was like, do you know what, I'm just going to leave it as it was something vulgar, and you can decide for yourself what that might mean.
I need you to decide for me. I'm not a smart person. How the hell did Cossack win 83 straight fisticuffs?
I mean, I think that, I don't think I know, I wrote it. So, I mean, a lot of his competitors were chosen specifically because they were not going to kind of measure up to Cossack's ability. So, a lot of them were like coming off the streets, or they were coming out of the prison. So I think it was weighted in his favor,
Okay, so it was rigged, because I'm saying 83 wins is a shit ton of wins.
I mean, he's very good. He's definitely got some skills in the ring, but yeah, I think there was definitely certain advantages that were put his way.
All right, good to know. One of the things I do on this show is I pitch novella ideas, and I've got a good one for you.
Okay.
Are you ready for this? And
yes.
Good is a relative term. Miss Brown's Guide to Sociopathic Housekeeping. Get the best tips for how to keep the house of dangerous sociopaths, from eliminating potential female threats, washing blood stains off clothing, and more. You want your sociopath to reach their full potential? Get this book.
I think that's an amazing idea. I don't know if you guys have Mrs. Hinch over there.
No, I don't know who that is. I was trying to look up famous housekeepers.
Yeah, you need to look at Mrs. Hinch. She's like really popular over here. She's got like 5 or 6 best-selling books and like a whole range of stuff. She started on Instagram, and she's got like millions of followers now. So I feel like Mrs. Brown could be the grim dark Mrs. Hinch. She's like the evil version.
Okay, I'd like to believe that as well. I think there's a lot of potential for that. What the potential is, who really knows?
I like it. I'm on board.
How the hell do you become a famous Instagram? Man, you can get famous for anything now. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, there's like loads and loads of like people that follow her. She's huge over here.
What does she like? I know this has nothing to do with the book, but like, what does she do? Like, what does she post?
Literally, it's just like tips on like how to clean things, and like pictures of her house, and like scrubbing the oven, and like using different household like, I don't know, like soaps and vinegars and things like that to make your windows sparkle. But yeah, it's really popular.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. Everything you just said, I have no idea how to do. So maybe I need to be following this account.
Yeah, no, me neither, to be honest. I mean, I generally don't clean like a lot. So I just get like a wipe and just wipe the house, and then, I'm done. So yeah, I need to join. I need to watch her as well.
Yeah, I just use all-purpose cleaner on everything, and I have a feeling that that's not cleaning it to its all purposes. I think I'm going to make this the final question. How come Carmen never answered if she liked the food or not? That's a question I was trying to figure out.
I mean, I think she's like just a general like sullen teenager. I think you ask her a question, you're going to be lucky to get any kind of answer out of her for anything. I like to think that she does like the food, because it's 90% cake, which I think if someone doesn't like cake, then I'd be worried about that person, and whether or not they were evil. So
If they don't like cake, they need to call Miss Brown.
yes, exactly. So
I just think someone asks you, hey, do you like the food here? And then you go, why is your face all mangled? I don't think that's very nice.
no, but I mean that's kind of her thing. She's yeah, the connection between what she's thinking and what she's saying, there's no pause between it. It just comes straight out. So, and I love them all for it, to be honest.
Man, teenagers are the worst. I think that's everything I got for you. Thank you so much for taking this time out. Where can people find the books?
You can find it on Amazon. It's just also come out as an audiobook on Audible as well. Yeah, so, and also like I link it up in like Twitter and Instagram as well. So if you follow me, there's all sorts of posts and things about it.
And what's the Twitter handle?
It is at Holly Tinsley, but the E is a 3.
Very sneaky. Well, I greatly appreciate you taking the time out. Best of luck in Smithbow. I would be shocked if this didn't make the finals because it was a ton of fun and an excellent read. Everybody fucking buy it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Cheers.
I had so much fun with that interview, and I'm having a ton of fun with Self-Published Fantasy Month, and I just keep saying it because I can't stop. Self-Published Fantasy Month, Self-Published Fantasy Month, Self-Published Fantasy Month. Can you believe I didn't stutter in any of that? Let me tell you about what's going on for the rest of the month. Next week is A Drowned God by best-selling author P.L. Stewart. After that is Dreams of the Dying by Nicholas Lietziau. I really got to figure out how to say his name. Sorry, Nicholas, when I talk to you this week, I'll ask you. And then the last book of the month is going to be Cold from the North by D.W. Ross. Super excited about that. And then we'll start off October with The Kingdom of Liars by Nick Martell. I appreciate everybody who's been rocking with me this month and every month and for all time. Or if you're a first-time listener, I hope you enjoyed it and you stick around for more of the chaos. Keep on reading or something. Peace.